Right now, while you are watching this, someone is being promoted over you. Not because they are smarter, not because they worked harder, because they stopped waiting. You have been patient, you have been loyal, you have done everything right, and somehow the prize keeps moving further away. That is not an accident. You were told that if you wait your turn will come. You were told the right people will notice. You were told patience is a virtue. They lied to you. Every day you spend waiting is a day someone less qualified is building the life you deserve. Your waiting is not noble. It is a gift you keep giving to your enemies. This video is not motivation. This is not a pep talk. This is a warning, and if you pay attention, it will change the way you move through every room for the rest of your life. The people winning around you are not luckier. They are not more talented. They understood something that you were never taught, and today that changes. You have confused humility with invisibility. You have confused waiting with wisdom. Every time you waited to be chosen, you handed your power to someone else. Stop it. The world does not owe you recognition. It never did. The systems around you were not built to reward the patient. They were built to extract from them. Wake up. There is a version of you who stopped waiting 5 years ago. He is living your life right now. He made the move you were afraid to make. You are still rehearsing it. This is what they never wanted you to understand, that the act of waiting is not neutral. It is a vote. Every day you wait, you vote for someone else's vision of your life. You are not broken. Let that land. The fact that you are here, watching this, means something inside you already knows the truth. Something is wrong with the game, not the player. You were raised in a system that needed you compliant. School rewarded sitting still. Work rewarded obedience. Family rewarded not causing trouble. They shaped you into someone easy to overlook. They called it virtue. They called it character. They called it being a good man. What they actually built was someone who asks permission before taking up space. That is not virtue. That is a trap. Every time you waited for validation before acting, you reinforced a belief that someone else's approval is the currency of your worth. It is not. It never was. That belief is a chain around your ankle. The bosses who pass you over are not blind to your talent. They see it. But they also see that you will stay even without reward. You have trained them to take you for granted. The women who chose him instead of you did not do it by accident. He moved with intention. He decided. You waited for permission to pursue what you wanted. She felt the difference. Your friends who seem to be outpacing you, look carefully. They are not more gifted. They simply decided they were done asking. That decision is available to you right now. The real betrayal is this. The people who taught you to wait were protecting their position, not preparing you for yours. Your patience was their shield. Your humility was their armor. You have been playing a game whose rules were designed to keep you from winning. And here is the cruelest part. You kept playing harder, thinking that was the answer. It was not. They needed a good soldier, not a general. They needed someone reliable, not someone rising. Your compliance was their convenience. Your waiting was their competitive advantage over you. The good news is this. Now that you see the mechanism, it loses its power over you. You cannot be manipulated by a system you understand. Clarity is the beginning of liberation. But understanding is not enough. Seeing the cage is not the same as leaving it. The next step requires something most men never find the courage to do: choosing themselves first, without apology. Drop this in the comments. I stopped waiting. I am the move. The men who shaped the world did not wait to be chosen. They chose themselves. They declared themselves, and then they moved. Not in arrogance, but in the certainty that no one was coming to save them. That is where you are standing right now. At the prow. Storm ahead. No one coming. The only question that matters is what you do with your next move. And a philosopher dead 5 centuries already answered it. His name was Niccolo Machiavelli. Florence, 1513. He had just been tortured by the government he served loyally for 14 years, exiled, humiliated, stripped of everything. And in that darkness, in that exile, instead of surrendering, he did the most dangerous thing a man can do. He wrote down exactly how power actually works, not how it should work, how it does. The Prince was not meant for the public. It was forbidden knowledge, a private map of how men truly gain and hold power. It made rulers furious and terrified in equal measure. It was banned by the Pope. Why was it banned? Because Machiavelli told the truth, that the world is not run by the most virtuous. It is run by those who understand the nature of men and move accordingly. He wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." People always quote that line in horror. They never ask why he wrote it and what truth had forced his hand. He had trusted, he had served, he had waited for justice, and the world crushed him for it. What he wrote after was not a betrayal of virtue. It was the brutal education of a man who refused to be crushed twice. His lesson was not that goodness is weakness. It was that goodness without strategy is suicide. You can be a good man, but you must also be an effective one. These are not opposites. And here is the quote from the Prince that most men will never read, because it destroys the comfortable lie that waiting is a strategy. Never attempt to win by force what can be won by strategy. Machiavelli knew this. Waiting for force to work in your favor is losing by default. Machiavelli died poor, still in exile, never fully restored. But 5 centuries later, generals read him, CEOs read him, presidents study his principles in private. He outlasted every single person who destroyed him. The lessons he left behind are not for the wicked. They are armor for the man who is tired of being the lesson for others. Let us begin. Lesson 1. The petition trap. The man who asks for what he deserves has already surrendered the frame. Asking is not humility. In the architecture of power, asking is subordination. You know this scene. You drafted that email 5 times asking for the raise. You rehearsed the conversation about the promotion. You prepared your case as if evidence alone would move someone. Here is the psychology. When you ask, you place the decision in their hands. You have framed yourself as the applicant and them as the authority. Even if they say yes, you have confirmed the hierarchy. Starting today, stop asking for what you want. Start building the conditions where your departure or absence makes your value undeniable. Position, not petition. Move, not memo. Drop this in the comments. I don't ask, I position. Lesson 2. Strategic silence. Every word you say in the wrong room is a weapon handed to the wrong person. Machiavelli understood that the man who speaks least controls most. You complained to your colleague about your boss. You vented your frustrations in the group chat. You shared your plans before they were complete. Every time it cost you something. The psychology is simple. Incomplete plans are vulnerable. Stated grievances become weapons. Your openness signals safety to the people who are not safe. You have been generous with information to people who profit from it. Starting today, when you are asked about your plans, give them the destination, not the route. Be genuinely warm and give almost nothing. Mystery is not distance, it is strategy. This knowledge is for protection, not destruction. Silence is a shield, not a sword. You are not becoming cold, you are becoming safe from the people who were already treating you like a resource. Lesson 3. The appearance of motion. Machiavelli wrote that men judge by results and appearances far more than by effort. The unseen effort is, in the world's eyes, no effort at all. You worked harder than anyone in the room, you stayed late, you sacrificed, and the man who took visible credit for less work was promoted above you. You called it unfair. It was accurate. The psychology here cuts deep. We do not reward effort, we reward the evidence of effort. Perception is not separate from reality in social systems. Perception is reality. The man who controls the narrative controls the reward. Starting today, make your progress visible without arrogance. Share the result, not the struggle. Speak in outcomes. Let your name be the first one heard in every room where your work lives. Drop this in the comments. My work speaks, and so do I. Lesson 4. Do not half-wound your enemies. Machiavelli was mercilessly clear. If you must confront someone who works against you, confront completely. The half-done wound heals and becomes rage. You confronted your colleague who was undermining you. You said your piece, but carefully. You left them their dignity. You pulled your punch. And they smiled, waited, and came back harder. The psychology is ancient. A wounded ego does not forgive, it calculates. When you spare someone the full consequence of their actions against you, you have not created peace, you have created a patient enemy. Starting today, when someone shows you they are working against you, respond once, decisively, clearly, completely, and then never revisit it. Not in anger, with the calm of a man who knows exactly how this works. And if the confrontation is not yet necessary, fine, watch, file it, but do not pretend the threat is not there. Machiavelli's gravest warning was against self-deception about the nature of those around you.
Lesson 5. Own your own authority. The man who waits to be given authority will receive a controlled dose of it. The man who claims authority and fills it, owns it. You waited for the title. You waited for the job description to include it. You waited for someone above you to say you are in charge here. And meanwhile, someone with less experience simply acted in charge. The psychology is this. Authority is not a position, it is a behavior. People follow whoever acts like the decision is theirs to make. The job title follows the behavior, not the other way around. Starting today, in every room you enter, ask yourself what decision is mine to make here, and make it. Don't wait for the invitation. The invitation comes after the demonstration, not before. Drop this in the comments. I do not wait for the room, I am the room. Lesson 6. The timing of the move. Waiting and timing are not the same thing. Machiavelli understood that fortune favors the bold, but boldness without timing is recklessness dressed as courage. You have made moves at the wrong time. You asked for the promotion during the worst quarter. You made your feelings known when they were distracted. You launched your idea when the room was not ready for it. Not wrong moves, wrong moments. The psychology is mechanical. Every room has a temperature. Every relationship has a current moment. The man who reads the temperature before he speaks wins. The man who bulldozes with energy regardless of timing wastes himself. Starting today, in every room you enter, ask yourself one question. Is this the right moment, or am I moving because I am afraid of waiting longer? Patience that serves strategy is not surrender, it is precision. The difference between the man who waits because he is afraid and the man who waits because he is calculating is invisible from the outside, but inside you will know which one you are. Be brutally honest with yourself. Lesson 7. The Self as Destination. The deepest mistake of the waiting man is this: he is always moving towards something outside himself, a title, an approval, a relationship. He has made himself the journey, not the destination. You have defined yourself by what you are seeking. The man who defines himself by what he is becoming is always incomplete, always one approval away from mattering. This is the deepest trap. It has no floor. Machiavelli did not pursue the prince's favor after his exile. He became the one the prince needed to understand power. He made himself the resource. He stopped being the applicant. He became the source. Starting today, write down in one sentence what you want to become, not what you want to have, not what you want others to say about you, what you want to be. That is the destination. Build toward it from inside, not outside. Drop this in the comments. I am the destination, not the pursuit.
These 7 lessons are not ideas, they are operations. Each one requires not that you feel differently, but that you move differently. Starting now, not next week, now. Every man who has ever risen from obscurity to power made the same move at some point. He stopped asking the world to confirm his worth and started behaving as if that confirmation was irrelevant. That shift is available to you in the next 60 seconds. It does not require a new skill. It requires a decision. A decision that the version of you who keeps waiting is no longer acceptable to you. Every great man Machiavelli studied, Caesar, Cesare Borgia, the great condottieri of Italy, shared one trait. They did not ask history for permission to make history. They moved and let history catch up. And here is the piece most people miss. Machiavelli was not saying be ruthless. He was saying be clear. Clear about what you want. Clear about what threatens you. Clear about what you are willing to do. Clarity is the first form of power. The world respects speed of decision far more than perfection of decision. The man who acts on incomplete information but with full commitment will beat the man waiting for certainty every time. Stop rehearsing the conversation in your head. Stop preparing for the perfect version. The moment will never be perfect. The preparation will never feel complete. This is by design. It keeps you still. Drop this in the comments. I was built for the storm, not the shelter. Fortune, Machiavelli wrote, is like a river in flood. She overwhelms those who have not prepared embankments and dikes. Build yourself into the kind of man that fortune has nowhere to overwhelm. Make yourself flood-proof. What does flood-proof look like in practice? Skills no one can take from you. Income streams not dependent on one gatekeeper's favor. A reputation built on observable results. These are your embankments. You have been putting all your worth into one basket, one job, one person's approval, one organization's validation.
Machiavelli's Florence taught him the man with one patron is the slave of one patron. Build multiple sources of leverage, not for greed, for freedom. The man no one can fully destroy because he does not need any single person to survive. That man cannot be controlled. Here is the final deep truth from these lessons. Power does not come to the man who deserves it. It comes to the man who is ready to hold it. Deserving and readiness are not the same thing. Become ready. Readiness means this. You have removed your dependence on approval. You have cleared your vision of what you want. You have accepted that no one is coming, and you have begun. When you have done those 4 things, you are not waiting to be chosen. You have become unchosen, which is the highest form of freedom. You do not need their selection. You have selected yourself.
The old you is dead. Let that be the first thing you carry out of this video. The man who waited, rehearsed, apologized for his ambition, and shrank himself to make others comfortable, he does not come with you from this moment. You are a weapon, pointed at your own future, not a weapon of destruction, a weapon of precision, of will, of absolute directed energy. Every lesson you just heard is ammunition. Load it, aim, move. You belong to no one, not to the system that shaped you, not to the employer who defines your value by a salary, not to the relationships that only want the version of you that stays small. You belong to no one. Machiavelli was tortured by the people he served. He did not collapse. He wrote the manual. He made them irrelevant. 5 centuries later, his name outlives every single name of every man who tried to break him. That is what happens to the man who stops waiting. He stops being manageable. He stops being predictable. He stops being the person they built their plans around. He becomes the disruption they cannot prepare for. You are not too late. You are not too behind. The men who feel they are behind the schedule the world handed them are the ones who eventually rewrite the schedule entirely. Your fury is fuel. Use it. The only regret that destroys men is not failure. It is the deathbed memory of what they could have been if they had simply moved when they knew they should have. Do not add to that story. Drop this in the comments. The waiting is over. This is not the end of something. This is a beginning with information. The beginning of a man who moves differently because he sees differently, who speaks differently because he understands power, who waits for nothing because he builds everything. Machiavelli said that opportunities present themselves to the man who is ready and pass silently over the man who is not. Be ready, starting now, starting with this moment, this breath, this decision. If you got here, all the way here, you are not the average viewer. The average viewer left in the first 2 minutes. You stayed because something in this resonated with something you already knew was true. There is a channel here built on exactly this kind of content. The philosophy no one taught you in school. The power principles no one wanted you to have. What you do next with this channel is entirely your choice. If you decide this is the kind of knowledge you want more of, the subscribe button is there. Not because you owe me anything, but because the men who build their minds deliberately are the men who move differently through the world. Share this with one man in your life who is still waiting. Not to change him, to offer him the same choice you just made. That is the only way this knowledge spreads the way it should, man to man. And leave this in the comments before you go.
One question worth thousands of words of thought. If the version of you who stopped waiting 5 years ago exists right now living your life, what is he doing today that you are not?